Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. Governor-General of Australia Peter Cosgrove and his wife visited the Rapid Response Unit Command, where they were received by the Director of Joint Operations and other officials. During the visit, the delegation were briefed about the duties and tasks of the unit, as well as its training programs. They also visited the newly opened Airborne Coordination Center (SAVT) and were briefed on its contents and its benefits. The center is the first of its kind in the Middle East. The Governor-General of Australia also visited the Zaatari refugee camp, where he checked on Jordan's efforts to provide humanitarian services to Syrian refugees. The Governor-General also checked on a number of projects and productive programs for Syrian refugees. That included the school nutrition project, the productive kitchen, and 2 schools for boys and girls. Cosgrove praised efforts exerted by Jordan's leadership, government and people to provide services to the refugees in various sectors.
Been received with great compassion by, of course, the King, the government and the people of Jordan have received them here with great compassion for their neighbours. And of course the UN and the international community of non-government organisations have rallied around to uplift the lives of people who were in desperate need. So this partnership, Australia is going to provide $12.5 million through the 2 agencies I just mentioned, World Food Programme and UN Women in Jordan. Australia will provide $12.5 million through these agencies to assist refugees here in Zaatari, in Azraq camp, as well as the vulnerable Jordanian communities affected by the crisis.
State Minister for Media Affairs Mohammed Momeni said that discussions over tax exemptions aim to support individuals and not commodities. Momeni said on the weekly program News and Dialogue on Jordan Television that the government has been able, through correct measures and decisions over the past period, to stop the rise of indebtedness and fix it at 95% of the gross domestic product. He also stressed the need to have budgets without deficit, despite economic challenges as well as regional conditions. The government, Momeni said, is aware that the continuation of subsidies is unimportant for citizens' confidence in government decisions. Minister of Foreign and Expatriate Affairs Ayman Safadi discussed ways to increase trade and economic cooperation with visiting Minister of International Trade of the Republic of Antigua and Barbuda, Charles Fernandez. The 2 ministers discussed prospects of bilateral cooperation, regional and international issues, as well as ways to expand trade between Caribbean countries and the Middle East. Safadi expressed the kingdom's sympathy with Antigua and Barbuda for the victims of Hurricane Irma that struck a number of Caribbean countries, leaving extensive destruction. The 2 ministers agreed to further increase mutual support at international forums that include the United Nations nomination of Jordan to the Executive Council of UNESCO at a vote next month. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov told UN envoy Stefan de Mistura that the fight against Daesh group in Syria is approaching a decisive phase. He also told de Mistura before a meeting in Moscow that the 17th International High-Level Meeting on Syria within the Astana process will be held on October 30th to 31st. Astana has been hosting rounds of talks aimed at finding a political solution to the Syrian crisis and reaching agreements between the Syrian armed opposition groups and the government to resolve the conflict on Syrian territory. Back here at home, where border military guards, in coordination with the Anti-Narcotics Department and the Public Security Department, foiled a smuggling attempt by 2 people who tried to cross the border from Syria into the kingdom. A military official explained that the rules of engagement were applied, forcing the 2 infiltrators to flee back to Syria. After searching the area, security personnel reported that a large amount of narcotics were found and seized and later referred to the designated authorities. Portuguese firefighters captured a fire nando in the central province of Aragonel, known as fire devil or fire whirl. This phenomenon is a whirlwind induced by a fire and often made up of flame or ash. They usually start with a whirl of wind or smoke. And finally, a quick look at the weather forecast. A slightly chilly night in Amman with a low of 18 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow, moderate conditions prevail with a high of 29 degrees in the hilly areas. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect a mild night and a relatively hot day tomorrow with 33 degrees, westerly moderate to brisk winds and slightly choppy seas. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's news. I'm Leo Belkar. Have a lovely weekend.